You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's an element of honesty that comes with authenticity and being honest about your opinions. And I remember when I first started in this industry, not wanting, so let's say you said that and I maybe disagreed, I wouldn't have said anything. Because I thought, well, I can't be disrespectful. Rob's come on the show, he said this. Whereas now I found my voice that I can actually say, well, I disagree with that or I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I have had people on the show actually that I've gone, do you know what, it's a fantastic share. I actually totally disagree. And that's okay because we're allowed our opinions. Now, Rob.
Yeah, disagreeing isn't disrespect, it's how you disagree.
Exactly.
So if you go, fuck off, you dick, that might be disrespectful, especially if it's in my studio. But respectfully disagreeing is not disrespect. So this is the thing that I think the world can, one of the ways the world could really get better very quickly is if we are able to disagree respectfully. But most people can't. If you think all women should be paid the same regardless of value, and I don't, and you think I'm Satan for that, we're never going to be able to have good discourse. Because I always learn a lot when I talk to my wife, which is one of the reasons I wanted to be on the show, but she won't because she just would get really embarrassed. But she makes good, logical arguments, and even sometimes when I don't agree with her, I'm like, yeah. That's very logical what you're saying and very respectful. So, yeah, if we could disagree better, the world would be a better place, a lot better place.
And that disagreeing, I think, comes back down to the first thing you said about it's who you are and what you're here on this planet for. Because I genuinely believe that when you know who you are, you almost know your boundaries and your values and your opinions clearer. You're not as easily swayed. Would you say that through your journey, you've got clearer on who is Rob Moore and why you're doing all the amazing things you're up to?
Yeah, I would say I think so, which means mostly yes. There's always an element of myself. I can't speak for everyone, I can only speak for me, but there's always an element of myself that is still finding who you are. One of that is the aging process. I'm 44. I might be halfway through my life. If you look at the averages, I hope I'm a bit less than halfway through. And so you find out things in your 40s about yourself that you didn't know when you were 30, you didn't know when you turned. Sometimes it's wisdom and sometimes it's not. It's like you can't train as hard. You haven't quite got the energy that you thought. So there's always an element of continually finding yourself. But the major part of your personality and your persona is probably already formed, they say, by about age 7, don't they? And really, I think that journey is just about liking yourself. So I never liked about me that I used to be fat. I really disliked that about me. I was quite shameful of that. And my therapist said to me once, well, if the overweight younger version of you was sat there, how would you be to him? And I said I would be embarrassed. And she was like, that's sad because, he's a nice boy. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. Yeah, he actually probably was a nice boy. I didn't get attention from friends or girls. It was girls because it was about that age, but it was also from friends. And so I became quite needy. And I learned to really people please and to try and go and seek out attention, the way I would dress, the way I would speak, the way I'd act. And I hated that about myself, that I needed to do that I was doing that. Because, why can't I just be me and they come to me? But the reality is I was just a little boy trying to find value, trying to find interaction and importance and respect and being liked and loved by people around me. So I no longer feel shame. I no longer dislike myself for who I was. Because if you think about it, if you look at who you are, as long as you know you're imperfect, and you don't try and hold yourself to a standard of perfection, which I think some religions put pressure on us to do that, then you're probably quite likable in a lot of ways. And there's probably things about yourself that you don't like that you should like. And you're probably not giving yourself enough credit. You might have good communication skills, you might have good empathy skills, and you're not giving yourself any credit for those things, and you're devaluing them, which is why your prices are low. And why you're not very good at, or don't go and do more networking, or don't go and ask for things because you're worried about rejection. So I guess as I got older, I wouldn't say I loved myself, I don't. I would say the things I really disliked about myself, I stopped disliking them about me and seeing more the things that were likable about me. And then the big thing is not having too much concern for what others think of you. And this is a fine line as well, because it's a lot of people say, oh, you should give zero fucks. Well, if you don't give a fuck what anyone says or does or thinks, how are you going to evolve your product and your pricing if you don't listen to the market and the people? And you can't just go around being loose with your emotions and loose with your tongue because you can do and say what you want, because it's a free world, and everyone's awoke who disagrees, and everyone can get to fuck because you give zero fucks. You can't go and behave like that. But on the other side of it, so many people are not expressing and therefore repressing and minimizing themselves for fear of being judged when they're judged anyway, so they might as well just be themselves anyway. Because, people say, I just want to be loved for who I am. Yet they're not showing the world who they really are. Most people will show the world either an exaggerated or minimized version of themselves. So if you show the world a falsely exaggerated or minimized version of yourself, if that's what you show to the world, you'll attract the clients and the people in the intimate relationships into your life attracted to the false versions of you, not the real version of you, and therefore you will always live a lie. I don't want to live a lie anymore, because I wouldn't say I lived a lie, but I was always trying to cover up who I really was, and that's sad. And it's soul destroying, actually. Yeah, I was either making up for and over or undercompensating all the time, and either keeping quiet when I should have spoken up. I speak up a lot about the government now and the taxes and the central bank digital currencies and the cashless societies. I speak up about those things, and for years I was a coward. I wouldn't speak up about those things for fear of being cancelled or worse. And so, or the authentic you speaks up where you need to speak up, and it shuts up where you need to shut up. When you don't really know what you're talking about, as much as I didn't take a pot shot at religion, but I said, sometimes religion puts pressure on us to be a perfect version of ourselves. But the 10 Commandments are a pretty fucking good way to live your life. And so, I remember, parents would say things like, well, if you've got nothing kind to say, don't say anything at all. If you've got nothing useful to say, don't say anything at all. And that's good. That's also good advice. So know when to speak up and know when to shut up. I'll shut up now.
I love that. Now, Rob, you so beautifully explained how you've been on that journey. There are probably people watching or listening that are maybe in the middle of that still may be struggling with not speaking up about and being honest and maybe not loving themselves. How did you make that transition?
Good question. Good in the sense that it's not an easy one to answer for me. There wasn't a eureka light bulb moment in space and time where everything stopped. Finally, I have a voice.
Which is good, by the way, because I think a lot of people are looking for that magic pill.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen like that. Often happens organically, or it surprises you. Certainly, there's an element of, let me take this a different direction. I interviewed someone on my money show who lives on the streets, and he's always asking me for money, and he's a good lad, and we get on well, and I stopped him and I chatted to him and I asked him some questions, and I went and saw him today, and he'd watched the video, and the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, but Rob, you don't listen to the negats, you're a good guy, you're a good guy." And when I approached him to say hello to him, I wasn't even thinking that what my critics might have said on the videos, or the negative negeds as he called them. I don't even think about that. And so what was interesting thinking about him was that he noticed those critical comments. And for me, that's growth in myself, because I wasn't even thinking about the negative comments. I was actually just thinking, I said to him, the video's doing quite well, you know, on our new channel, and, you know, there's some good comments, and you come across really well. And that's what I was thinking about saying. So I think once you can get to the point where you don't give oxygen to the negativity, like I will read the comments, and, you know, occasionally the feedback is useful. For example, I was being interviewed by Yanni on Yanamize, and I was fidgeting a lot. I was doing this with my legs, and it's something I do all the time, but I'm not really aware of it. And quite a few people, he must be hiding something, you know, shaking his legs. I'm not hiding something, but it was good feedback that it's probably quite distracting if I'm doing that the whole time. You know, if I do this for 2 hours on your show. So I'm able to look at a comment and go, actually, yeah, all right, he's a bit rude, but made a good point there. That's something I could work on. Versus someone just being a dick. I don't know when, maybe around 2016. Maybe that was the point. And I can't even tell you why. Maybe because I've done a load of public speaking, and for you to be the very best on stage when you're a public speaker, you have to take the risk of ridicule. A joke, if you half tell a joke, it'll always die. You have to go for it. But the more you go for a joke, the more you risk it dying. So I've done a lot of public speeches to the point where I knew you had to be bold on the stage to land the message. And it would almost be to the tune whereby the more bold I was, the better I was received. So I guess then I'd found my voice on the stage. And so then that just translated into comments on social media or how I do business. And I also like to challenge convention. Like, for example, most meetings are boring. Not the ones I'm in, because I like to redesign and reinvent what a meeting is. So I make sure there's always jokes to be cracked. And they're not necessarily funny out of context. Well, we had a board meeting yesterday, and apparently there's a staff member in the office that likes me. And apparently she calls me daddy. And I said, well, don't worry, I won't shag her. And of course, everyone in the board, I don't know if you can say that nowadays, might get cancelled. Couldn't give a fuck. But of course, everyone in the board meeting is either like, oh, this is so inappropriate, or laughing, or ooh. And I don't think they have those kind of meetings normally. Yeah, and clearly someone felt comfortable enough to tell me that one of my staff members in the sales team calls me daddy.
I can't wait for that person to listen to this.
But like, if there's an opportunity to lighten the mood in a meeting, so you can actually enjoy your day instead of it all being serious, I'm gonna take it. But I was like that at school when I was a kid, you know, because like part of people who are depressed or sad, which I was at school, is you want to lighten the mood. So that is me being authentic. So yeah, reinventing how things are done and facing the fear of ridicule and rejection and not really worrying about it too much. Like, what does it matter? Doesn't matter, does it? If I fuck up today, you're not going to remember tomorrow. You've got your own problems to deal with. You're going to be more worried about them.
Yeah.
And if I fuck up bad, I can always apologise and you'll probably forgive me. And if not, it's a good lesson and I won't do it next time. You know, we overthink things sometimes, don't we?
We do.